The FBI and tech giant Apple have been locked in a fight over unlocking an iPhone, but now the government announced that it may be able to unlock the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone without Apple's help. An outside party has come forward to show investigators how to bypass iPhone security features. But what does this mean for Apple, encryption, privacy, and security? Here to sort through this with us is tech expert and attorney James Goodnow. Welcome to the program, James. What does this mean for Apple and the FBI case? And is Apple off the hook?
This means the case is on hold. As you just said, late last night, the government came forward and said, stop everything. We have a potential hack. So today we were supposed to have the big showdown, the biggest court battle to date. Witnesses were going to be called. This was going to be massive. But now at the 11th hour, the government calls it off. And there are a lot of questions we have now.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, is Apple off the hook?
Apple is definitely not done with this battle. There's no doubt that this is not the last chapter in this saga. First, we need to see, does this third-party hack actually work? That's the question. Now, if it turns out that it does not, the parties will be back in court on April 5th, and you can expect the government to push forward with this request.
So a lot of people are curious, why didn't the FBI just have the NSA unlock the phone in the first place?
Great question, Danielle. The answer is nobody knows for sure, but insiders at the NSA have reported that the FBI, in fact, did come and ask the NSA to open the phone. But apparently, the hack that would be possible through the NSA is what's called the zero-day hack. And that's essentially exploiting bugs in the Apple operating software. What's unique about this particular hack is there are a limited number of times you can attempt it. So essentially the NSA said, we know we can do this, we think we can do this, but we want to save these precious few zero-day hacks we have for something that's bigger, where there's more of an imminent threat, large-scale threat to national security.
Taking a look at the motive, did the FBI cancel court because perhaps they feared they would ultimately lose in court?
I think that's certainly possible. There's no doubt that when the FBI, through the Department of Justice, started this case, they had no idea what was going to happen. No one realized that this would become the seminal tech privacy case, certainly potentially the largest in history. So right now, with the stakes being so high, with all of the tech companies coming to weigh in on this, the FBI likely realized that if this case went against them, they would have some big problems down the line. Specifically, if they lose, they wouldn't be able to try this effort to get Apple to open its phone again. And they probably said, we want to keep this in our back pocket.
Now, many thought for the FBI this case wasn't about one phone, it was about setting a legal precedent. Will this encryption battle continue with or without Apple?
No doubt. And you don't need to look any further than the tragic terror attacks we saw today in Brussels for part of the explanation for that. As long as we have these terrible tragedies, as long as we have terror events, people are going to be concerned about national security, and this debate will rage on. There are many other players involved beyond just Apple, and we know that the government is trying to stop this, and we certainly don't want to see any more of this. The real question, though, Danielle, is what is the greater risk to national security? And if you accept the position of the tech community, it's opening up these backdoor channels so you could have cyber terror attacks that could put everyone's safety at risk.
So do you think essentially this attack in Brussels worked in the FBI's favor, at least in this case?
I think it probably does in the court of public opinion. There's no doubt that when you have these terror attacks, people immediately want to do whatever is necessary to keep the country, to keep the world safe. So you already see, as an example, the political candidates playing off of this in this privacy versus security dispute and saying this is an example of why we need to unlock these phones. But you have other people in the mix. As an example, John McAfee, the cybersecurity expert who's come in, who, by the way, tweeted that he played a role in this particular instance in helping the FBI to open up this phone. You're going to have these tech experts coming back saying, time out, let's step back and think about the big picture before we move forward too quickly on this front.
So, what should we expect moving forward?
What we should expect is large-scale battles. This is not the end of this in court. We already know that there's a battle brewing in New York over this. We know that over the coming months, we will see more and more of these requests from the government throughout the country. This means that the high courts and eventually the Supreme Court will have to weigh in to stop this. And it just so happens the court is a justice down right now, but I would expect over the coming months and years, this will make its way to the Supreme Court so we can get a definitive answer on what is the limit of government power when it comes to our tech devices.
Attorney James Goodnow, thanks so much for sorting this out with us today. Mark, back to you.